Good evening, everybody. Welcome to IronGeek Cast number 197. Merry Christmas. How's everyone doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. How about you, Mr. Adrian?
A little feeling under the weather, but other than that, all right.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
I've been good. What did InfoSec Santa get me?
I do not know.
You got the beard going. That kind of makes you InfoSec Santa. So
I don't have the beard right now. Well, okay, I kind of sort of have grizzle. As I've gained weight getting older and my beard's turned gray, I guess I probably would make a good Santa. My uncle used to play Santa.
Yeah. I saw one of your earlier talks the other day. It scrolled up on my YouTube feed. And I was like, oh, shit, that's Adrian. Like, what happened? It looks like Adrian ate Adrian now. So
shit, yeah. I just stopped exercising some as much and at all now, and just I have no good reason to stay in shape other than just to keep living.
Living is a good reason to stay in shape.
Or if World War III happens or Civil War.
Well, that's soon. Should be fun. Stock up, get your rations.
I've got plenty.
Yeah, shit is hitting the fan. Oh, politics. Brief interim. So you saw Trump was like, everyone should get $2,000, not $600. And then Pelosi was like, okay, let's do that. And now,
yeah, but the bill's still gonna have to go back through a vote because of
the bill's got so much pork in it already that they're like one of my friends pointed out that a lot of people don't understand is that this is not just a relief bill; it's also the budget bill. So
well, there's a lot of stuff in there too, actually,
for the budget of next year. You know,
there's a lot of stuff in there too beyond budget. There's
allocation stuff to other countries. I know.
Well, no. There actually was a provision in there that would repeal the president's ability to use the Insurrection Act.
Wow. And so there was also stuff in there about regulating cryptocurrency.
Yeah, it was a big omnibus bill because that's how government works. Usually, they instead of making a bill be about one thing, everyone tacks shit onto it to make it pass, because individual items on their own will not pass because no one can be fucking think about the American people first. They have to think about their own fucking interest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the weirdest thing I've heard about so far is other than the Insurrection Act thing, is some gender program. I don't know what that even means in Pakistan that we're financing.
Yeah, I didn't look too much into that, but I don't know. There's a lot of stuff in there that doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's pork. I mean, it happens in every bill. So why can't I edit? Oh, because I am not in edit mode. I'm in incognito. All right, that makes sense.
I have a couple friends who are saying instead of giving us $600, just don't tax us. But that only works for us that actually get taxed. If someone has been out of a job for a while, they kind of need the money.
True, but
my fear is, how is this going to affect inflation?
Yeah, and how can the government
printing off money?
So I would be happy with $2,000. That would be useful. But if you give everybody $2,000, then $2,000 isn't worth $2,000.
Yeah, I didn't get anything on the first stimulus. I made too much money in 2018, which is, I think, what they based it on.
Oh. Yeah, I got money in the first stimulus. That was nice. Spent it very quickly. So, starting off with the cast stuff instead of politics stuff, which most people who tune in to watch our cast, I imagine they don't really care about our political opinions. They want to hear about InfoSec stuff. So, Solarwinds Fallout. Which sounds like the name of a Bethesda video game, but it's not. So the SolarWinds Orion hack was probably the biggest one in recent history that made the most news anyway. And we all know at this point what the whole thing was, that essentially a piece of software that's used by a lot of different networks, especially government networks, to monitor their assets was backdoored in a supply chain attack. And at this point, everyone seems to think it's pretty much Russia. Logan last week made some good points about how it's probably not Russia, at least based on his experience in doing this kind of work. But everyone thinks it's Russia, and Russia's denied it. And a lot of news articles coming out about this whole thing. One of them, which I thought had a good headline, but not really a lot much past that, was why the U.S. government hack is literally keeping...
U.S. officials tell CNN that they suspect a Russian
why can't I mute
hacker.
You? All right. The U.S. government hack is literally keeping security experts awake at night. I think that it's Cyberpunk 2077 that's keeping the security experts awake at night. But if they are unable to sleep due to their worries related to this attack, wow, they need to go to counseling, man, because like shit happens all the time.
I've noticed that some people in InfoSec are a little bit high strung and they blow things out of proportion sometimes.
Just a little, right? It's like I can't sleep because of the SolarWinds attack.
And usually it's not even about security though; it's about politics. But that's a different subject we can go back to later.
Yes. So of course the federal agencies are on alert, right? And they're all scouring their systems, especially if they were running SolarWinds, trying to make sure there's nothing else bad going on. In other SolarWinds news, they also found there was another program, I think it was Palo Alto's stuff. Where is it? So there was another backdoor in other software put out by SolarWinds. This was not the same backdoor. This was a second from a different group who also hacked the supply chain. Yeah, and it wasn't targeting the same exact software. It was other software SolarWinds put out. So it looks like his company's security just sucks. But considering they had an FTP server with write access that was also used to download the latest versions of their software to all their customers, so anybody could upload or overwrite any software they put on there, I don't think they really took security as seriously as they should have in the first place. But look, it's a shit show is what it is. So regardless, SolarWinds, there was some other stuff that was hacked there too. Then we got Cisco and VMware saying that they were impacted by this hack, which is not a surprise because that is the wrong spreadsheet. So if you take a look at this spreadsheet here, which I was able to generate with the help of some stuff Mr. David Kennedy retweeted, which is essentially, these are the domains here, or at least the internal domains, like the domain name that was used by certain companies that got hacked. And some of the times these tend to correspond with the company's actual domain name. But we see a lot of different stuff here. Some very interesting stuff, if that is to be trusted. But it is, again, this is the C2 domain, and if you decode it, this is what you're getting here. And like amr.corp.intel.com, that sounds bad. Belkin, they make routers. We got Cam City. I don't know what that is, but it sounds like they make camera software stuff. We got corp.dvd.com. We got cow.local. I don't know what that is. But, CSA. There's lots of stuff that got hit by this. This is just 1,000 of those domains. They say there's like 10 times as much, but this is what we were able to decode. And there's some interesting .gov shit in here. It's scary. Prod.hamilton. I don't know what Hamilton is, but Rally. Here's some gov. Picma.gov. I don't know what that stands for. Seattle.intern. That could be Seattle International Airport for all we know. There's tons of shit. And a lot of places are affected. I mean, I don't know what Washo is, but they got a lot of shit, you know.
Oh, by the way, at 720p, which is this is going out at, I don't think people are going to be able to read most of the stuff on your screen.
Oh, that's unfortunate. But we know what I can do.
Washoe is a county in Nevada, if I'm right.
And go like this.
I think that's where Reno is.
Maybe they can see it now. Is that better?
Yes.
On the YouTube stream? Yeah, so there's a lot of different domains that were hit. AMR.corp.intel. That sounds like it's something. It's very interesting right there. Yeah, buy.corp. You know, cow.local. I don't know what cow.local is, but DHHS. Hopefully that is not DHS. You know, these are the internal domain names that correspond with the things that got hacked. So, you know, lots of shit there that, yeah, to go through and play with. Regardless, so Cisco and VMware were also hit by this attack. I think there's going to be a lot of fallout from this for a long time, and the threat actors have obviously known they're burnt by now. So what they've probably done is they've molded their way into these networks a little bit deeper, and they've got other ways, maybe something similar to the malleable C2 profiles from Crowdstrike. Maybe set it to ping out once every day now instead of every hour or every 20 minutes. You know, make it harder to find, blend in with some traffic. But I think it's still in a lot of these places, computers, and it's going to take them, like, they're going to have to burn the whole thing down to find all traces of it and get rid of it. So, yeah, this is not good for a lot of people, especially around Christmas. We also have, this is the same article as before. Yeah, it's the same article as before. Click the wrong one. Detecting sunburst with Zeek, which is good for some blue teamers, you know. So they have, this is the string here, the user agent string that you would see in an HTTP request. If you are seeing this stuff, you've got machines that are infected or machines that have an infected version on your network. Through how to detect it. Look, if you're on a security onion, also you can find it. There are rules built in with the ET Pro rule set that just know the C2 domain, and it'll let you know if somebody's reaching out. But still, it's good to be able to stay on top of that. This is some politics kind of mixed with InfoSec. Biden's blaming Trump for failing at cyber because this happened on his watch.
Like he does much of anything directly with it. Hiring better people may be the thing.
I mean, technically, Krebs was at the helm when this happened, and everyone's upset that Trump fired Krebs over something else. But technically, Krebs was in charge of CISA when that happened. So I don't know. And we got a detailed timeline put out by Palo Alto Networks on this whole thing. Full disclosure, my brother works for them, but he doesn't talk to me pretty much ever. So anyway, Solarwinds Timeline, they go here. It's around August was the earliest recorded domain registration used in this attack. The earliest identified modification of the source code was in October. By December, they had the C2 domain that they're currently using, the AVMS cloud. And by February, they had their first certificate. And then mid-February, they started weaponizing SolarWinds, the source code. And then we just go through, and not until December do we have any new stuff, which is when FireEye figured it out. So they had a while. I mean, about a year in all these networks to go through and fuck around. So, and there's some big networks, big name networks there. So, you know, it's scary, but it happens. So, and in top InfoSec news, unrelated to SolarWinds, we had an article I found, which, while it had a decent title on its own, I decided to rename it Hacking Journalists for Fun and Profit for our show notes anyway. So there's a 0-day exploit that was around for iPhones, and it was sold for a lot of money to a lot of shady people online, as these kind of exploits do. And they used it to get onto the phones and iCloud accounts of a bunch of journalists at Al Jazeera and a couple other news agencies. It was essentially using the Pegasus spyware, which was, of course, used by the NSO group. And they hacked 36 personal phones belonging to journalists, producers, anchors, and executives. They were compromised using an exploit chain that they're calling Kismet, which has nothing to do with the other Kismet, which appears to involve essentially a zero-click exploit. All you have to do is send them an iMessage. The second that iMessage is on their phone is now compromised. It's, it's those kind of 0 days that you and I can't get our hands on. These journalists were then, hacked. Some people are claiming this was Saudi Arabia who was behind it, or the UAE. It seems to be targeted towards slightly older iOS versions. So, well, considering when it was done was a little while back, it makes sense. But still, if you're up to date with your iOS stuff, you're probably okay.
Yeah.
Also, if you're not like a journalist with information that could damage the Saudi families, then you're probably not going to get targeted.
I would like to know what the media is hiding.
Everything. The media is hiding everything. They will not publish a lot of stories that they should publish because it could damage their shareholders. And I don't know. Let's get off the conspiracy bandwagon for a bit, though. I like it, though. It's a zero-click, though. That's really cool. Just from an IT security standpoint, like you send somebody a message and now you own their phone and they haven't even looked at the message. That's badass. Like that's really kind of a good exploit to be able to have.
That's kind of scary because you have no way of knowing your own unless it actually has like some remarkable IoT. You can't like see like, oh, someone clicked on a link here and got popped, or you have to actually look for indicators of compromise.
Right. It would be. I mean, I'm sure there's some C2 involved, but that could be very easily changed, based on the attacker. Anyway, those exploit brokers, man, they've got all the cool shit. So next, we've got another scary thing. Signal's encryption may have been cracked. So a lot of us in the IT security industry like to use Signal because we, from a technical standpoint, believe it's fairly secure. Now, some people are claiming it was cracked by Celebrite, the same people who crack into your phone for money if you've got the money. Like, say you have a locked phone and the government wants to get into it and they don't have the ability to. They deal with Celebrite and they will get into the phone and get all the information off of it. So now apparently they can decrypt messages sent with Signal for Android. No news if it also works on the iOS version. But does that mean Signal itself was really cracked? Well, if you've got access to the cell phone, and I don't think it necessarily means that that's a Signal crack itself. It more means like if you've got somebody's phone and they have Signal on it, you can access their messages if you can have physical access to their phone.
Well, yeah, because that I don't know how Signal stores the messages. Do they store it like in memory and it's encrypted memory so it's only visible on the screen, or can you snarf it if you've got physical access? Or that's kind of the question.
It's a matter of time until you can reach anything on the phone.
Because physical access is total access. That's basic tenet.
Yeah, it's just a time game. But still, it's scary to think that, say, they get your phone and you think you're okay because you were talking with your associates about whatever, and it's encrypted. And now they got your phone; they can get into that and see your messages. So that's kind of scary. If you're doing things you shouldn't be doing, who knows? Or maybe if you're doing things you should be doing, but they don't want you to do. Another cool thing I found, the shitty Dell Wise terminals that if you're working at like a nonprofit, you're probably rocking? These suckers. I've had to deal with these in my time. So you set up like a Windows 2000 server machine, and you set up terminal services, and all of these things do is just get an RDP session on Windows Server.
I remember seeing them back in the day. PCs.
They're still widely in use everywhere.
Okay.
But it used to be like a lot of nonprofits did this to save money, so they didn't have to buy a bunch of desktops. You know, you spend $200 for one of these, and you set up a remote desktop session on your server for each one of your employees, and they get their own little desktop. It's a security nightmare.
I saw them a lot in schools too, and we're starting to see kind of a trend back with that, with like VDI and things like that. So
yeah. Well, VDI, this is great for VDI if you've got a fast net connection. But if you're doing it local, it's great because, like, if you're a nonprofit, like I used to work at one, where we don't have the money to buy computers for everybody, but we still have everybody needs to write up their notes at the end of the day and do stuff. This was great for it, but at the same time, you know, it has its limitations. Anyway, there's a 0-day for these. You can get like the OS that's on these, like the base OS is very, very bare bones. It's called Thin OS, which is pretty clever because thin client, you know. So these things are crap. It's essentially like Linux with an RDP session built in at boot. You know, you turn the thing on and it will look for your Windows server through a very minimal OS that's kind of like Linux. It is underlying it's Linux, but and then it does essentially a Remina type session to your RDP server, you know, Windows server. There's a 0-day where these things, when they're booted up, they look for these INI config files, and you can essentially set up your own little FTP server, and these things will talk to your server first when they boot up, and they'll pull down your INI file, and then they'll do what you want. And you know, it can be bad. You know, it's like a pixie attack. You know, it can be bad. Somebody's got to be on the network first for it to work. But still, once that happens, they can own everything on the network. So, yep, that's that Wise Terminal 0-day. Next, we've got fun times for Adrian, or people screwing with all the hacking videos on YouTube again.
Yeah, so far that hasn't been a problem for me since like 2014. I got some stuff taken down, but then I think they put me on a special list. Still annoying. I keep recommending people also put shit on BitChute, but then you have a bunch of crazy whiny motherfuckers who think BitChute is a fascist platform because they're idiots.
Yep. So this time, when somebody was trying to watch a red team phishing tool linked to from a GitHub page, they ended up there. There's also something apparently called PeerTube that is being pushed in this Reddit post, which is a peer-to-peer torrent-based file sharing network for streaming videos, which maybe
that's what BitTorrent. That's what BitChute does. Also, it's supposed to have some peer-to-peer aspect to it.
Yeah. Well, everything peer-to-peer is kind of like, I worry. But at the same time, I torrent stuff myself, so I can't be too worried about the underlying technology. Then I came across this neat Twitter post from Blue Team Blog, and they've essentially put together some pretty cool scene best practices and threat hunting resources if you're into Blue Team stuff. And they also got memes, so this is just kind of a plug for the page, which I saw, took a brief look at, thought was cool. And they've got some free rules for Azure Sentinel, Sigma, Elastic Stack, stuff like that. So good to have. Maybe follow this guy on the Twitters if you don't. I actually do, but I'm on incognitos mode, so you can't see that I do. All right. There's that. Patrick Wardle on hackers leveraging a powerful iOS bugs and high-level attacks. So this is similar to that other post we were talking about. A recently uncovered zero-click Apple's 0-day flaw is being used in a spyware campaign against Al Jazeera, which we already know from the other article. This guy goes into a little bit more detail about it, talks about how there's some other issues with Apple stuff where you can essentially bypass content filters, which is not that big a deal, but There's issues with the Big Sur firewall on Apple, where trusted apps can completely bypass the firewall restrictions and things like that that are supposed to be in place. It's like they just kind of get a pass. Everything else goes through the firewall. You're trusted. Okay, you go through me instead. So it's like a routing issue internal to Macs that could be problematic in the future. Anyway, I'm not going to go too much into that, but I thought it would be good to put here so you guys could see. Next, we've got Cellhawk. So this is in that whole same surveillance state type thing. This is a company in Texas, and they are called Hawk Analytics. They make a product called Cellhawk that pretty much is not well known. Like, doesn't really go against, doesn't get a lot of public scrutiny. They've been in use by law enforcement, and they're helping police departments, the FBI, and U.S. covert information collected by cellular providers into maps of people's locations, movements, and relationships. Police records obtained by Intercept reveal a troublingly powerful surveillance tool operating in obscurity with very little oversight. So they say it can process a year's worth of cell phone records in 20 minutes, automating a process that used to require painstaking work with investigators, including hand-drawn paper plots. The web-based product can ingest all cell phone data records, or CDRs, which track cellular contact between devices and mobile towers, showing who's talking to who. It can also handle cellular record location records created when the phone tries to connect to different towers. It can include tower dumps, which will show when the phone connected to what tower for how long, which is often used by the FBI as dragnet surveillance. All in all, they can see where everybody's going based on what their cell phone is leaking. So it's scary what these private companies, this is not a government agency, this is a private company, has access to all this information. Essentially, they use GPS records in a unique automation analysis tool, and it allows them to target a person's location over time. Watch data come to life as it moves around the entire country. So, you know how like we're all paranoid about, say, fake cell phone towers over by DEF CON every year, or like they're just intercepting all the traffic and looking at everything we're doing. It's similar to that, but they have all the information from the actual towers, not just from the fake tower. So they can see where you're going, what you're doing, who you're calling. You know, it's scary. It's a private company. Why should they have that much power, you know? So speaking of private companies with lots of power, ever go look at your Google location data? If you leave
Every
it
once in a while,
you see like where you were last Thursday at 2 p.m. down to the minute.
I've had to use it before when I get back from the airport to figure out where I put my car.
It's also good if you're drunk and you leave your car somewhere. Just pull it up. It's like, that's where my car is. I'm going the wrong
If I'm
way.
not drunk, I shouldn't be driving.
But you should be on the internet. Eventually, they're going to have, you have to blow into your cell phone to have your cell phone turn on before you can text your ex. That I'd buy.
That would probably actually be a good idea for some of the shit. I don't text my ex, but I do
Just
shit on Twitter that pisses people off.
So, you know, Gmail Labs, those
Mhm.
experimental features, there was a feature like many years ago that would like, it would actually ask you like, hey, you want to send that if you send an email at like a weird hour, or if it had like a lot of misspellings and stuff. It was like, hey, you look like you're drunk. Are you sure you want to send that email?
No, I think that's a tool that should have fully developed. In ransomware news, a whole bunch of companies are getting together and they're creating a ransomware task force, including Microsoft and McAfee. That would be the company McAfee, not John McAfee. We don't want him on a task force. He's getting chased by task force.
Is he in legal trouble again?
I think he's in jail now, last I heard. Ransomware attacks are growing in popularity, and they're causing more and more disruption every day. They're now hitting hospitals and schools. And in response, a ransomware task force is being created by 19 companies, including, of course, McAfee and Microsoft. As ZDNet reports, we won't see the RTF's presence on the web until January, but its intention is clear: to create a standardized framework for dealing with ransomware attacks across all verticals, one based on an industry consensus rather than individual advice received from lone contractors. In other words, whenever a ransomware attack is discovered, there should be an optimal way of dealing with it, and that optimal way should probably not be to pay the ransom. So they got 19 companies involved. They got Citrix, which they really shouldn't be involved, but and Citrix has had a lot of real bad vulnerabilities lately that have enabled their customers to get ransomware. So I don't know. The Cyber Threat Alliance, I haven't heard of them before. There's a bug, dead bug now. Okay, Rapid7, they're cool because they maintained a Metasploit framework, but they didn't make it. They just kind of maintain it. Resilience, Team Cymeru, I've never heard of them before. Strategos Security, Shadow Server Foundation, never heard of them before. But if it were going to be hosting a C2 server for some malware, that sounds like a place where I would do it. Same bug. Now you're dead, for real. All right. Shadow Server Foundation. That just sounds sketch. And Venable LLP. I don't know. Like, I recognize 4 of these companies or so. Typically, a ransomware attack is going to see your company scramble to find an expert who can help. And, of course, that expert's just going to say, well, restore from backups. Don't pay the ransom. And then the company's going to be like, we don't have any backups. And, I guess you got to pay the ransom. That's it. Or they'll put you in touch with one of these schmucks who's like a third-party negotiator. And it'd be like, they want $2 million. And this guy goes, look, my client doesn't have $2 million, but they're willing to pay $1.5 million. And then the ransomware guy gets back and he's like, 1.6. And the guy goes back to the company and he's like, they're willing to take $1 million. I don't know. Eventually he gets there. And I screwed up my point with math, but essentially they will take a large cut of what they claim they're going to be paying the bad guy with a lot of the time. So they're like, the bad guy agrees to a fixed price that is less than what they initially were going to take, but is still more than what they're telling the client less than what they're telling the client they're going to be paying them. So they like tell the client, give us 1,000,005. Math hard, brain farty. Give us 1.5 million, but the guy agreed now to take $1 million, and then they pocket that $500,000 and pass off to the bad guy plus then their fee. So those guys are sketch. Like, I wouldn't trust them. Just negotiate yourself or get your lawyer to do it, but don't trust those guys. I've seen some of the mailings between like the actual ransomware groups and these kind of guys that eventually leak, and these guys are just real scuzzballs. Like let's move forward. Ransomware operators are now using the System BC Rat, which we talked about last week, as an off-the-shelf Tor backdoor. So System BC Rat communicates over the Tor protocol, and it's essentially like a module now, kind of, that you can incorporate into your ransomware framework. So I guess C2 comms over the Onion network makes more sense for some people. Not going to read that article. Next, we're going to read about idiots who think they're going to be beta testing a version of Cyberpunk 2077 for Android, like it would run on an Android. It barely runs on a fucking $3,000 gaming computer. It's going to run on your Android device? Well, no, because they never even made an Android version. If you'd done any research, you'd find out that they didn't. But what? What's this right here? It looks like Cyberpunk on Android. People are stupid. And it looks like a Google Play Store, but it's not. It's a web page, which you should notice is running your web browser, not Google Play. People are clicking this a lot, and they're letting it install on their phone and giving it access to photos, media files, all that shit. And then, look at this shit. These people are so stupid, and they get their freaking phones ransomwared. Adrian, discuss this while I go pee.
All right. Wait, what number are we on?
The one, that one.
That doesn't tell me. Wait a second. I can't, like, I'm going to be able to read that. So how's it going, Dan?
Oh, not bad. I'm just so I think let me see. Pull the link up here. I think I know which one he's talking about. Shit. Sorry.
Are these in correct order that he's covering them?
They should be. Okay, it's 17.
All right.
You guys are still trying to figure out what article it is. I even washed my hands. All right. So Cyberpunk is not an Android game. You should know that. If you try to install a Cyberpunk Android game, you're an idiot. And you deserve what you get when your phone gets pwned. Do we have any show people's talking on the YouTube or nothing?
I think we had a few people commenting, yes.
Excellent. Anybody say anything good?
It's going past pretty badly, so.
Oh, no.
I mean, you can see it too, can't you?
I can if I can find my tab. There we go. Comments. All right. We've got Schmox Moxty. Ho, 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 Christmas. People blame Russia for cyber attack. Yes. Well, Kavik1 likes to comment a lot. That's good. Better to have somebody comment. All right. Getting back to the show notes. We got number 18. Emo Ted is back just in time for Christmas. Hello, Brandon. How you doing today? Ransomware disguise. Read that. So Emotet, if you don't know what Emotet is one of these ransomware as a service things that's going around. And it's often installed after somebody's already got access to a system. It's not like the initial infection point, right? Sometimes it gets on through like some crap SMS messages or hey fucking god, hobby. Good fuck. Anyway, it's not usually the actual initial infection vector. It is like they've got some shitty C2 thing going on your computer, usually like just a loader. And then if it looks interesting, they're going to load Emotet on there. And once it's on there, then if somebody takes a look at that and finds it interesting, they might put TrickBot, QuackBot, Zloader on there. It's third stage, I guess. So it's back. Like it was gone for like 7 weeks. There was a whole Microsoft campaign against it. It was gone. Mostly like kind of reduced to just spam BEC type emails. And now it's back in full force and people are getting infected again over and over. And we got another article from our friends at Crowdstrike. Crowdstrike being one of the main competitors to FireEye in what they do. And CrowdStrike's stock has been doing very, very well lately, thanks to the whole FireEye controversy.
Not good for them, I guess.
Yeah. So in this post, they're going to be talking about a recent incident that involved a persistent browser hijack rootkit dubbed Spicy Hot Pot. This comes from Tinder Security, which was publicly reported its discovery of this rootkit. I don't know if rootkit is the right word because usually a rootkit is a lot more deeper than browser, but
okay. So wait, Tinder Security and Spicy Hot Pot.
Correct.
All right, just making sure.
So it comes from Who Wrong, and then it says parentheses Tinder. So I imagine that's this is probably like the company that owns Tinder, maybe. I don't know. I didn't go that deep into it, but Spicy Hot Pot is what they've called this thing, and it is essentially like remember back in the day with those BHOs you just couldn't get off a system. Like you'd run hijack this, and you'd kill like every freaking thing you saw, and then you'd reboot and they'd be back. It'd be like, what the hell? How do these things keep infecting every browser? Well, this is like the modern day equivalent. So in addition to uploading memory dumps from a machine to a predefined server and incorporating a local user update feature to ensure it remains updated, this browser hijacker will add some malicious executables and registry keys, and also change the user's homepage. They also take it one step further by using 2 kernel mode drivers that are then dropped to disk and installed during the infection to remain stealthy. Clever. So this is not something you want on your box, obviously. The initial detection by CrowdStrike Falcon, which is their cloud-based sandbox technology, which is actually pretty good, but it can only handle a 100 meg file, received an alert that a suspicious binary called Baofeng 15.0 attempted to run on a customer's environment. Now, Baofeng actually makes some pretty cool radios, so I wouldn't think that would be super suspicious at first, but let's see what it was. It had this was the hash of the file here. I guess we're going with SHA-256 instead of MD5s from now on. After analyzing the binary, they determined it was bundled with a browser hijacker, a rootkit. This rootkit was known back as December of 2019 and has remained prevalent, with variants being discovered up to date. They did analysis. They looked at the execution tree, which is interesting in and of itself. Yep. And then, they looked at all the different binaries that are getting dropped, what it's doing. They go through a really, really detailed analysis of this browser hijacker. So if you are interested in this kind of stuff, you should check it out and go through it in detail, like we are not going to in this cast. But it is interesting shit, so check it out. General IT and InfoSec news. So the government is giving us all a Christmas present for Christmas. It's cryptocurrency regulations. More of them. This rule is going to be targeting your private wallet. And under these new regulations, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network may become much easier for the government to track your Bitcoin transactions. And there's currently a 15-day comment period open, which they're playing dirty with because it's right in the middle of the holidays. So normally a 45-day comment period, but now they're doing a 15-day right in the middle of the holiday season, so everyone's distracted, and they're just going to pass this and say, well, nobody said that, we shouldn't. We had hardly any comments. But this thing is dick. So if you use a private wallet and you're like an investor and you're trading on something like Coinbase, which is the most popular one right now, cryptocurrency exchange, you got your own private wallet. You want to transfer money to it, right? So this is apart from your Coinbase wallet. You have to identify yourself as the wallet's owner if I'm going to send more than $3,000 in a transaction from Coinbase. And if I want to do business with somebody who's got a private wallet, I need to tell the exchange very detailed personal information about who I'm sending the money to before the exchange will then let go of the money and send it to where it's supposed to go. Now, the whole point of having your money in crypto is that you are trying to avoid letting people know where you're sending your money and to who. And now they're making some very detailed rules saying if you want to send people money, want to send them more than $3,000 in a single transaction, well, we need to know exactly who they are. Now, if you're thinking, how the fuck do I get around that hard rule? Two $1,500 transactions are not going to flag it. So what's the difference? The difference is they're trying to inconvenience you and make it harder for you to send your money where you want to send it without them knowing, because they want to tax it is the main thing. It's money. They want to be able to tax the money. It's all about the Benjamins. So the EFF, of course, is like, don't do this. The EFF is always trying to stop these kind of rules, and people donate to them, and they try and do their best to stand up for people who care about things like privacy and security. I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes they do a good job, sometimes not so fucking much.
Yeah, this is true.
It's hard to get them on a case unless it's something pretty high end, even if it's a simple question.
Happy Christmas, Helic. Yep, it is. It's pretty hard to get the EFF involved. look, I started my own local DEF CON chapter. I've only got 6 guys, and they contacted me. They're like, we're the EFA, the advocacy branch of the EFF, and we would like for your group to join our group and come have a meeting with us. So I show up at a meeting in the middle of a work day because I am like, all right, maybe it'll be okay. And these 3 guys show up and in the virtual meeting, and they pretty much tell me that my organization is not big enough yet to join. And I'm like, well, you guys contacted me telling me you wanted me to join, and I show up and then you tell me I'm not good enough to join. I'm like, what the fuck is the point? You're wasting everybody's time. Anyway. Rant. Sorry. Rant over. So cryptocurrency regulations are coming just in time for Christmas. So don't think about gifting me all those Bitcoin that you've got. Yeah. Next, we've got cyber criminals who have Happy Christmas, Kavik. Cyber criminals have started indexing the dark web. Why? What's on there that you want to index? Anyway, archive.org, they got everything. Well, now people are like, hey, let's index the dark web. There's some that I wouldn't want indexed. I wouldn't want those things on my computer.
I've been known to come to try to find some stuff and have difficulties when I'm pretty sure it should be there. I know there's a guy, Stick Hexenhammer 666, I think, on YouTube, who's talking about there being some political incidents of control of archive.org that compromises it, but I don't know if he's ever actually given specific details.
There have been issues with archive.org where they had indexed a bunch of PDF books that were freely available. Like you could Google them and you could find them. But when archive.org released them in like a package, like, these are computer security books that you can go and check out during the pandemic. I think it was a whole bunch of different books. There was like nonfiction and fiction books in there. It was like essentially shit to read during the pandemic. The publishers, not the authors, but the publishers went apeshit, and they tried to sue archive.org, and they were like, hey, no, don't do that. You don't own the rights to this. You can't redistribute it. And Archive was like, we're just pointing to it. We're proxying the traffic. We're not actually, anyway, it didn't matter. They got sued. And
archive.org actually does make a copy, does it not?
It does, but their argument was essentially that this stuff is freely available on this site. All we're doing is taking a copy of it and making it also available on our site. It's essentially the same as doing like a caching proxy. So,
and kind of, sort of, you kill ad revenue by doing that, and that's one of the reasons.
There's legal things with caching proxies that let them get past a lot of the laws. They're not technically really a caching proxy, but they definitely could kind of fit under the definition of what they do.
I always think it's interesting. I know people who archive news articles just in case they change them.
And they do change them. Next, we've got cyber criminals. Nope, we already read that. Cryptocurrency XRP plunges 25% after the SEC files a lawsuit against Ripple. I went and bought a whole bunch of it today, just for shits and giggles. So the price of XRP plunged again today after the U.S. SEC filed a lawsuit against Ripple, a blockchain company with ties to the cryptocurrency, conducted a 1.3 billion unregistered securities offering. XRP sank 25% to around 35 cents Wednesday morning, according to data from CoinDesk. It fell about 17% Tuesday, the day before. So all in all, it's fallen a lot. We allege that Ripple, Larson, Garrison failed to register their ongoing offer and sale of Bitcoins of XRP to resale investors, which deprived potential purchasers of adequate disclosures about XRP and Ripple's business and other important longstanding protections that are fundamental in our robust public marketing system. That's a mouthful. I don't even know what the hell it means. But Ripple then said they denied this. They said XRP is a currency and should not have to be registered as an investment contract. The company questioned the lawsuit's timing, saying that SEC Chairman Jay Clayton is soon to stand down, and the U.S. government and other regulators had previously given XRP currency status, and it lost its place as the world's third most valuable cryptocurrency, with Tether, a dollar-pegged token investors often use to trade crypto, surpassing its value Wednesday. Yeah, it's interesting. Crypto stuff is always interesting because most of us don't understand what the hell it really is or what it's doing, other than the fact that it can make me money somehow. Next, we got a cool article I found. This is kind of like an IoT Build It article. And this dude was screwing around with LoRa, which is a long-range, low bandwidth technology, kind of similar to all the IoT shit you see in your house. LoRa was originally designed for Internet of Things sensors to spread their data going very, very slowly, like between 0.3 and 27 kilobytes a second. Long story short, it can go about 2 miles, right? And your regular Wi-Fi definitely can't go that long. So this guy thought, hey, let me make myself a little pager with it. And all he did was he bought like an Arduino type device and a little screen, and he got himself a little keyboard, and he made something that looks kind of like that. And he essentially can send messages about 2 miles with his little homemade thing. Kind of like it's using an LCD screen that was originally for Nokia phones, which means it's very long lasting on a low battery amount. Ran into some issues with different battery technologies, found out that NIMH batteries worked better in low temperature, but the lithium ones would drop out. Yeah, look, it's cool. Like, he built this whole little thing, and I always found that kind of shit cool. Like, you don't have to be a ham to use this stuff. You can just buy it and fuck with it and not have to worry about the FCC coming to your door. You know, LoRa is one of those technologies it's regulated. It's got its spectrums. You stay in those spectrums, you're good. So I thought it was cool. This is using an 18 mega 328, which is very similar to our Arduino. Yeah, it's cool. I would want to build those as just like a toy to have. Yep. I found it nice, so I put it in the show notes, and now you guys have to learn about it. Next, we've got U.S. quarantines the Pfizer vaccine shipments in California and Alabama after a transit anomaly let vials get too cold. So as you know, this vaccine that's out there right now has to be minus 70 degrees Celsius at all times. And apparently it got much colder than that during transport. So they went and they took all that vaccine stuff and they destroyed it because there's no way to know if it'd still be useful or good. So they just killed it all. A lot of it.
This vaccine works in a slightly different way than some other vaccines, does it not?
I'm no expert, but from what I understand, it does something differently. It doesn't use an actual dead virus. It uses something else. I don't remember. I read about it at one point, and I don't remember. I don't want to speculate because I'm not an expert on it. Usually when they're making a vaccine, they have an actual sample of the dead virus. This one, I don't think they had a sample of a dead virus. They had like the notes made by the researchers who had studied it, and they used those instead. I don't know. I'm pretty much talking out of my ass here. All right. This one is also pretty interesting. Non-InfoSec news. A Delta passenger who slid out of a moving plane with his dog said it was because he was having a panic attack. This dude.
I just want to see my fiance.
31-year-old Antonio Murdoch leaving Queens criminal court after appearing before a judge charged with felony criminal mischief for deploying the emergency exit slide from what's known as the R1.
I don't have the screen up.
Delta flight to Atlanta taxied at LaGuardia before takeoff Monday morning.
We're at 12 Alpha, and we had a passenger exit the airplane using the slide, so we're surrounded by all emergency equipment.
I panic. I have.
Yeah, he's not going to have a good day in court. Anyway, I found that interesting. Democrats are going to be trying to approve a $2,000 stimulus check, putting Republicans on the spot after Trump stated that it should be $2,000 and not $600. So now the House Democrats will bring forward a bill to provide direct checks of $2,000 to individuals on Thursday after President Trump called on Congress to amend the newly passed coronavirus relief bill to increase direct payments to $2,000 with $4,000 for a couple. Speaker Pelosi said the House will try to pass the bill with unanimous consent, meaning that only one Republican member opposing the proposal needs to be present in order to block it up. Mr. Trump indicated in a video he posted on Twitter, of course, Tuesday, that he would not sign the bill in its current state. It's a $900 billion relief package. Are they going to get rid of the other BS in that bill? Probably not. It provided $600 in direct payments to adults. So after the president's demands, Miss Pelosi has decided to try and call what she thinks is his bluff. And we're going to see what happens here. I'm no Tim Pool, so I'm not qualified to give political commentary. But it looks interesting because essentially, like the $600 bill, that was what Trump was like, it's $600, I'm not signing it. Make it $2,000, I'll sign it. Then she made it $2,000. Do you think?
And he didn't make any stipulations about cutting shit out?
I don't think so. It doesn't say anything about it. And obviously should cut some of the shit out, but I don't know.
But this bill is not just the COVID bill. It was also, I don't quite understand how it's connected.
It was part of the budget. It was part of the defense authorization. There was a whole bunch of shit rolled into one because, again, like I said earlier, that's how Congress works. They can't pass bills to cover a single bill, cover thing. They have to roll everything together because it's not like they can all agree on shit.
Right. My friend actually wrote up a pretty good report to this when I posted it on the Book of Faces. I'll see if I can find it while you guys bullshit about this real quick.
Because, again, people can never be nonpartisan about this thing with the American people. They have to play their own fucking games.
Agreed. Well, look, if it is not just a stimulus bill and it's also essentially the budget for the next year, there's obviously going to be a lot of things that don't have anything to do with the stimulus in there. It's like logic. There's going to be other things in there. Okay, let's see if this is the comment that he wrote it in. Yeah. Oh, where is it? Why can't I find things when I want them? Yep. Anyway, I cannot find what my friend wrote, but he made a good point of it, and I am not going to try and re-articulate what he said because he said it a lot better than I can. But I mean, I'd be okay with $600, honestly. $600. I don't have $600 right now, so I give up. I can't find it, and
I just kind of worry about budgets and inflation.
Oh, there we go. Facebook killed my original post because they didn't like it, so they deleted it. Okay. I have what he commented now because they do that. All right. So my friend commented this, and I'm just going to read it verbatim here. It's a effing budget bill, you schmucks. The whole thing isn't just the stimulus bill. The stimulus bill is part of a short-term budget bill. I'll repeat from the lead-in on the Wikipedia entry just for the heart of thinking. Combines $900 billion in relief of the COVID-19 pandemic in the United States with $1.4 trillion omnibus spending bill for the 2021 fiscal year that avoids a government shutdown. The Consolidated Appropriations Act 2021 HR 133 has proposed $2.3 trillion spending bill that combines COVID-19 pandemic with $1.4 trillion omnibus spending for the 2021 federal fiscal year that avoids a government shutdown. If passed, the bill would be among the largest ever passed in Congress, coming just ahead of March's 2.2 trillion CARES Act. And then he comments, Jesus effing Christ on a pair of panties. Think, McFly, think. Stop parroting back all the conservative panic bullshit. For the effing love of non-existent God, think. That would be what my friend yelled at me when I posted. Yeah, that's a pretty good retort there. So I'm just gonna go, okay, that was good. Maybe I'll invite him on the show and he can yell at all of us, and that would be fun. All right. Brandon Stellar says, "Hey, men, not all Americans. I hate all politicians. I just hate everybody, and that way I'm covered." Okay. KFC has decided to release their own console based on the Intel architecture, and it will warm your chicken. And no, they're not joking.
Now, see, someone new got in charge of KFC because they've been doing some funny ass shit recently. Like, didn't they release some Lifetime love story movie with a guy playing Colonel Sanders?
Yeah, Thurman posted about that, and I saw it. It was really funny. Oh, God, no. We wouldn't do that. Never. Jay, don't worry. He'll never be here. He don't like any of us. So they're making a gaming console that can keep your chicken warm. And it's real. And they've got specs they've published. It's essentially powered by a Nook 9. And it's got an Asus RTX graphics card with 1 terabyte of solid state storage. That's great.
So why?
I don't know, chicken?
There's a reason mankind didn't peak with the discovery of fire or the invention of the wheel. It's a feeling inside all of us that compels us to go further, reach higher, and dream of ways to achieve the unachievable. When the odds are stacked against us and it seems like the entire world wants to tell us no, that's not possible. Surely that can't be done. And we look up to the stars and say, just watch me. Because we know that rules are made to be broken. We know that dreams are made to be followed. That the impossible is made to be possible. And that gaming consoles are made to evolve. Welcome to the next level in gaming innovation. The KF console.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I haven't ate KFC in a while because I got a bunch of other good chicken options in my area.
Well, you live out where they actually have real good fried food and southern food. I don't live there, so.
Yeah, Jola's recently opened up. They got the Nashville hot chicken style. That means actual Nashville style hot chicken, not this KFC stuff. And I like Popeyes better than KFC. And I have a local Southern comfort food, like mom and pop thing called the Chicken House that's nearby me.
You've given us enough restaurants to be able to triangulate your position.
More or less.
All right. New York City, near where I live. Famous brands. They run Dunkin' Donuts and a couple other big chain stores. They're getting the fuck out. They've closed 70 Dwayne Reeds since the pandemic. They're closing 49 Starbucks. They're talking about closing 520 more chain stores in the city. Essentially, it's not profitable right now to run these stores when you've got what's going on. So they're getting out. They're also closing a bunch of Shake Shacks, Old Navy's, Victoria's Secrets, MAC Cosmetics, Subway restaurants, GNC's, Starbucks. Yep.
They own all that shit?
Apparently. Famous brands, man. So what they do is they collect famous brands. And they're getting out. So
well, you can't totally blame them. If they don't have the business, they don't have the business.
This I found interesting. So this poor chick here, right? She is a paramedic in New York City, and she had herself an OnlyFans page. And some reporter for the Post thought that it would be really funny to break a story about her, despite her asking him very nicely not to run a story about her. And it ruined her life. And now people are setting up like a GoFundMe page for her to try and get her shit back on track.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about OnlyFans, but
I don't think people should
Journals-
be people for doing OnlyFans. It's like somebody wants to do it and they're making money from it and they're okay with it. That's good for them.
well,
Don't go to the fucking press and be like, hey, somebody's an EMT, but they've got an OnlyFans, you know? It's like,
yeah,
so
journalists should definitely leave people the fuck alone.
it's like, dude, you're a fucking journalist. Go crack a real story. Don't go fucking pissing off some random EMT lady who's just trying to make a living.
Yeah, EMTs don't make fucking money at all. They mean $15 an hour for someone who has to be medically trained and certified. It's not an easy job.
Yeah, I dated an EMT chick for a while, and she did not make a lot of money doing what she did. In fact, she would do it paid in the city, but then come home to Long Island and do it for free with a local ambulance corps.
Yep.
Also,
Volunteer
not
work.
making any fucking money.
Yeah, volunteer work in the sticks. Yeah, it's pretty common.
And still, you know, and you got these assholes. They're like, why the fuck would a reporter go and be like, hey, I'm just going to ruin this person's life and I'm going to get a cool headline out of it, you know?
Because unfortunately, a lot of journalists are assholes.
Agreed. So I just watched this thing on Netflix about oh shit, what the hell is it called? It's about the bomber with the Centennial Park thing. And it was really good. And the journalist there just had like no ethics. She was like sleeping with cops to get stories and total cokehead. But it was based on a real story about this dude who essentially got blamed with the bombing when he was just a security guard who found the backpack and how his life got ruined because of it. And
Goodness gracious me.
and there goes Netflix auto-playing shit because I went to go try and find what the fuck it was. I don't like Netflix's interface, but I do like their content.
Goodness gracious me.
Goodness gracious me. Just give me the fucking content of the things that are on TV. So yeah, it was good. I liked it. I recommend it highly. And Netflix show Bomber. There we go.
I mean, it's kind of your fault for
Manhunt
having
Deadly
a Netflix.
Games. It was very good.
It's kind of your fault for having a Netflix sub in the first place. Let's be honest.
You think I pay for this shit? I don't pay for this shit. Yeah. So it's called Manhunt Deadly Games, and it's very good. Check it out. It's a miniseries too. It's a season long, but it's got a movie feel to it. Very good production value. I am happy I watched it. Anyway, that was just a little offshoot there. They interviewed this chick who had this whole shit happen to her with the EMT OnlyFans business. Yeah. And essentially her life got ruined because of this fucking reporter. She lost her job, her paying job, bullshit. I like if somebody's a high school teacher and they've got an OnlyFans, they're asking for it because one of those fucking kids is going to find it. But if you're like an EMT, I see no problem with that. Adrian wants to talk about raw meat, apparently. So let's talk about raw meat.
Yeah, I was thinking of traditional Christmas foods, but this is not one of the ones I normally think of.
So in Wisconsin, they have a traditional Christmas food, which is essentially raw meat on rye bread. It's got some spices, some onions, and some other lovely things. It's called the Cannibal Sandwich. And this woman who is, I guess you would call her the person of interest behind our article here, did not realize that this was an unusual thing. She thought this was like a thing they had everywhere. So she lives there in Wisconsin, and obviously she's of Germanic roots. And in her small town in southeastern Wisconsin on Christmas Eve, that would mean performing "O Christmas Tree" in German at the church Christmas pageant by candlelight, followed by a little Christmas gathering of immediate friends and family, where they would have cookies, nuts, and of course, cannibal sandwiches, because those are a staple, you know. So, also known as tiger meat or wildcat, cannibal sandwiches are a long-time Wisconsin tradition. Although the name implies something much more sinister, the meat is usually just raw beef, spices, and a hefty helping of raw onions served on an open-faced rye bread crackers. This is not the type of meat you would get from the supermarket. This would be meat you get from your local trusted butcher that's fresh, or from your own farm. The idea would be the freshest, leanest beef possible, and Wisconsin settlers raised their own animals, and they ground the meat fresh at home, so this kind of became a staple there.
Okay. I've had steak tartare. I guess it's not bad. It's just, I don't understand what meats can you eat raw safely and which ones you can't, because you can't eat pork safely, I'm understanding. You can't eat
pork's big concern is trichinosis, which is pretty rare to begin with.
And worms. Don't forget worms.
I mean, worms. But again, most of that's from wild pork. From farm raised, it's pretty safe. Although pork and poultry you don't want to eat undercooked. You can do pork around medium. That's about as far as you want to go. But for poultry, you want to do well done. Yeah. Beef is one of the few you can do on the rare side, the raw side. Pittsburgh is basically seared but still cold. That's usually for whole chunks of meat like steak, usually not ground beef, because when you grind it up, it increases the risk of bacteria and all that jazz. It's also, you mentioned butchers. Fun fact, Wisconsin actually has more butchers per capita than any other state in the country. I lived out there for a little bit, and it was neat going to a butcher all the time for meat, and it was actually really good meat too. So I can see why they do this.
Yeah, I don't have any really weird Christmas foods that we always ate. I think my mom made a certain type of cookie. We'd always have a cornbread stuffing, and we'd eat a turkey. Unfortunately, my grandmother had a tendency to cook a turkey till it was way too fucking dry.
Oh, I hate that. You should cook it at a higher temperature for less time, and it actually comes out yummier.
Well,
I saw
Go ahead.
I saw a chef who cooked it by quartering it. He cut it to quarters and then roasted it. He basically roasted the breast first, and then threw the drumsticks and thighs in there afterwards. And then he took like the wings and other cuts and made broth with that. So it actually came out pretty good that way.
Yep.
Yeah, I only like the things I eat was like I said, stuffing. I really miss my mom's stuffing. This year, since everybody's dead, but my brother and I we're going to do the traditional Jewish Christmas lunch and go to a Chinese food place.
So John Mulaney is chucked into rehab. John Mulaney is Andrew Globerman on Big Mouth. He's also a stand-up comedian, and he did a monologue on Saturday Night Live that a lot of people thought was too far, but I liked. Dude's really funny. Apparently he's got a substance abuse problem, so he's checked himself in to deal with that. People on Twitter are mostly being supportive, believe it or not. Yep. Which is surprising because usually they're assholes. So that's good.
Best of luck to him.
Indeed. And last but not least is
real quickly. I think that's kind of something everyone can relate to. Someone usually either has or knows someone who's been dealing with that kind of shit. So it's close to home to a lot of people.
I agree. I mean, it's a tough thing. Substance abuse, whether it's alcohol or drugs or extremely hard drugs, whatever it may be, it's not easy to cope with addiction. It's called addiction for a reason. It's hard. Yeah, I don't know how number 32 got all the way down here. It should have been all the way up there. But all this article is, and it's another fluff piece about ransomware is getting worse, and you need to worry and be scared and make sure you do what you need to do. MFA the shit out of everything and just pray for the best. So, not even gonna read it. And that's all I got for show notes. We're good. Hey Jay, what's up, Jay? That guy did get thrown under the bus. And Brandon, you want to come out here and yell at people? I welcome it. Come and yell at everybody.
Yeah, I think we have one more cast for this year, and then we're done with this year for casts.
No.
No, more for next year.
No. I've been doing this with you guys for like 3 years. I mean, I take a few months off every now and then, but like I was going back on my YouTube feed, just looking, I'm like, holy shit, that's like 3 years ago, and I was still talking with Adrian. I guess I've been doing this a while.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate it too. I enjoy your company.
Oh, I don't think I've slept properly for 24 hours. Acid reflux is keeping me awake.
I don't think I've slept properly for 24 years. Crippling social anxiety is keeping me awake.
Thanks, Jay.
Thanks, Jay. At least somebody appreciates us and our hard work.
Mostly Frank's hard work, but I had random ass comments.
Yeah, I guess I'm riding on your coattails here, man. It's all good.
I can't tell you the truth anymore. I care more about the cultural issues and politics stuff.
I could add more of that to the show notes if people are interested in it. I try and avoid it because, from what I understand, when people are watching podcasts, they do it to escape that kind of shit.
Sometimes, depending on what kind of podcast you're listening to.
I appreciate you, Joel. Yeah, you guys are nice. It is nice to have people listening to the podcast. KVic1. Aw. Guys are sweet. I don't really have anything else to talk about. Cyberpunk. And you guys have a great week.
Yep. We'll catch it y'all later and see y'all next Wednesday.
Later.
Hasta la